Hello everybody, it's Dr. Stuart Allen Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the very first week of February 2020. And guess what? Tomorrow is Jade and Jasmine's second birthday. Happy birthday. So they're going to be 2 years old on 02/02/2020. You can't make that up. So what are you going to make for their birthday?
Something very special.
Yeah, like more than you get for me because I got nothing for my birthday.
That was not nice.
Well, I got anything special.
Yes, you did.
Did you make me a cake?
Yes.
What was it?
It was a beautiful cheesecake.
What? Did I have it?
Yes, you did.
Oh.
I made you cheesecake and beef tenderloin and all your favorite foods.
Wow, I wish I could have been there.
Yes.
Anyway. Well, I have a lot of stories today.
No, you're going to have a lot to make up for after that comment.
You know what? How will I know the difference between anything? Janae. Can I be serious now?
Serious A or serious B?
C. Anyway, as we know, unfortunately, there was a helicopter crash that killed the legendary basketball player Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter and 7 other people last weekend because of severe fog that had grounded local police agencies' helicopters, but they took off in their helicopter, which makes absolutely no sense, and they were operating under special visual flight rules. The Los Angeles Police Department Air Support Division had grounded its helicopters and didn't fly until later in the afternoon because of the fog. The Associated Press, using data from Flight Radar 24, reported that the Sikorsky S-76 helicopter circled east of Interstate 5 near Glendale, and then the MSN reported that just before the crash, an air traffic controller could be heard telling the helicopter's pilot that he was still too low level for flight following.
Now, one thing I want to comment too on that special visual flight, I was reading later on that they claimed that he was not certified.
I was going to get
that.
Okay, why don't you just read my news story for me, okay?
Yeah. Well, I always want to make sure that that's
Yeah, just take over the whole news
notated.
thing. That's fine.
No, you like
By the way, we're reporting to you from our almost new kitchen. It's a really new studio kitchen.
Yeah.
It's not quite done yet, but
Yeah. Well, we're filming here to help celebrate the puppy's birthdays.
yeah, So anyway, then the now remember what I just said?
Right.
That they were told that they were still too low to fly. So then the helicopter descended and crashed into the hillside at 1,400 feet. So if they were just told they were too low, why would the pilot descend? That does not make any sense. And since you said it, the reports are that the pilot was not qualified to fly in these missions. So let me ask you, you're Kobe Bryant, you have $800 million, you have a private Sikorsky helicopter. Why would you hire a pilot that's not fully qualified to fly in all kinds of weather?
Well, according to what I read, he has used his pilot before, and that was the only pilot that he would even fly with.
Yeah, but not if he's not certified.
But he may not know about the certification.
And two things. As you know, one of my sons works in private aero division. Actually works with for President Trump when he comes into.
My stepson and I know him well. Yes.
Yeah. So he said that it's not possible that the helicopter crashed like that. He said that he cannot comment on it, but it's not possible. And I will say that the day that it happened, if you add up the numbers, it is up to 13. His daughter was 13, and the helicopter turned around at 9:40 a.m. 9 plus 4, 13. A lot of 13s there. So it sounds to me like it was a little bit of a ritual.
Yeah, well, not only that, but there was a cartoon which I didn't see where they showed him being killed in a helicopter. And then also they claimed that he said he wanted to die young and be memorialized.
But why would he take his daughter with him?
I'm just telling you what I read in the reports. I'm not trying to justify one way or the other.
I think the whole story is not going to be told until a long time from now.
If ever. Most likely never.
Next major story, as we know, the coronavirus. A lot of Chinese citizens are afraid the government's keeping information about it secret. You think it's China? Why would they keep things secret? And critics.
Isn't that about a beer? Corona, isn't that a beer?
Corona means crown.
Yeah, but isn't that a beer?
It's named a beer also. So it's a crown virus. Wear it on your head. So the critics are silenced, and the official updates are deleted from the social media. The Chinese government has attempted to be transparent about the new coronavirus outbreak, but the citizens remember what happened with the SARS epidemic, where it was all kept secret. Authorities first told the public that the outbreak was under control and mild. And now, there are some questions that need to be answered. So first of all, first question, how contagious is the virus? Well, it seems moderately infectious, similar to SARS. How deadly is the virus? It's hard to know, but the fatality rate is less than 3%. Much less than SARS. So why is it this big, oh my God, contamination? The mortality rate is less than regular flu. Mm-hmm. So what's the big deal going on with it? How long does it take to show symptoms? 2 to 14 days. How much have infected people, have people who've traveled been infected? It spreads quickly. I cannot speak it today. And how effective will the response be? The World Health Organization, known as WHO, has praised China's efforts. Of course they did, because they're all the same friends. But, of course, they fear that the lockdown measures are not enough. How long will it take to develop a vaccine? According to this information, it's still a minimum year away.
I saw somebody saying that they can do it within 2 to 14 days.
How about they already have it?
Right.
Because this is a manufactured virus, and when they manufacture viruses, they already make the antidote with it. So while the virus is a serious health concern, the risk to people outside of China remains very low. And they say always wash your hands frequently, avoid traveling with your office and school, blah, blah, blah. It says most healthy people don't need masks. Now here's the thing. You're wearing a mask. If you're infected, then you're breathing in and constantly reinfecting yourself. Plus, your eyes are exposed, your ears are exposed, your hands are exposed. So unless you're going to walk around in a plastic bag, a mask is ridiculous. Now, your friend Bill Gates, he's a deep state puppet. And did you know that he did a documentary in 2019 and described an outbreak starting in China? How did he know?
Because he has the vaccine.
Yeah, because he did it. He did it. And the virus was created as a joint venture between China and our wonderful friends, Canada.
What about Hong Kong?
What about Hong Kong?
No, don't hear anything about Hong Kong now, do you?
Because they're all dead.
I'm saying that you don't hear anything about Hong Kong now that this thing has happened.
Yeah, that just shows you the news. They pull this story, okay, put this one away, take that one out. It's all fake news.
But maybe the Hong Kong people are all hiding because apparently in China they're all hiding.
No, they're being quarantined for other reasons. Has nothing to do with the virus. Listen, there's 1.4 billion people in China. Do you really think they can protect all of them from a virus?
No.
No.
Apparently they're protecting the people in Hong Kong because they're silent now.
Now, President Trump, here's another major story. A lot of major stories this week. President Trump, of course, released the two-state solution peace plan for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And while Trump and Netanyahu praised the plan as a way toward ending the decades-long conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians, most of the Palestinians have rejected the plan. Trump said, "This is a great deal, and the Palestinians may not have this opportunity ever again." By the way, the noise you hear is Jasmine chewing on a trachea. Of course, we don't know exactly whose trachea it is, and people have been disappearing around here lately. But she's enjoying it.
And she's quiet.
Yeah, so was the person who had the trachea. Trump acknowledged he's setting out toward a goal that has eluded every U.S. president in modern times, but claimed that those prior efforts were too vague, which they were, and short on critical details. Maybe yes, maybe no. Trump declared his plan as the most detailed proposal ever put forward. Well, it's the most complicated anyway. White House officials described the plan as realistic. I don't think so, personally. And said Israel is prepared to act. The plan calls for a two-state solution, including the state of Israel and a future state of Palestine. Under the plan, the Palestinians would have to reach certain benchmarks to achieve a state. Those benchmarks include rooting out terrorism, stopping what they call pay to stay, implementing steps towards free speech, and other political reforms. That will never happen. The plan is the basis for negotiations with Israel and claims many of the Palestinians' red lines are met, including their calls for a Palestinian state and a capital in parts of East Jerusalem. Not parts, they want Jerusalem. The vision calls for more than doubling the amount of territory the Palestinians control. I looked at the map, I don't see where that is happening, but the plan will double Palestinian territory and set the capital of a Palestinian state in eastern Jerusalem, where the United States will happily open an embassy, Trump said. Our vision will end the cycle of Palestinian dependence on charity and foreign aid. The plan also includes a map of a contiguous Palestinian state. Jasmine, it's going to be Jenny's birthday tomorrow. Who's going to be 2 years old?
You're a good girl.
Yeah. She's going to be 2 years old with her brother. The plan includes a map of a contiguous Palestinian state in the West Bank with a proposed tunnel to connect the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Well, they're very good at digging tunnels
I was wondering about
underneath
that.
Israel.
There's probably already a tunnel there.
I'm sure there are. There would be land swaps south of Gaza to give the Palestinians more territory. This is the first time Israel has agreed to a Palestinian state with defined borders. A small strip of land between the Egyptian border and the proposed land swap area south of Gaza would remain Israeli territory and be subject to Israeli security control, and this was requested by Egypt. Egypt wants Israel to be in control because they don't like the Palestinians, and they know the Palestinians are a problem. As part of the plan, Israel has agreed to halt settlement construction for 4 years, but in one detail, to provoke Palestinian objections, the plan recognizes Israeli sovereignty over certain parts of the West Bank. The plan calls for a demilitarized Palestinian state. Israel would maintain overall security, although if the Palestinians show capability to secure their areas, including their own local police force, then there'll be less Israeli control over the area. Israel would maintain sovereignty over the Jordan Valley east of the West Bank, while Palestinians have been negative towards the plan.
It's Jasmine. First she went and she's done with the trachea. Then she has a dried sweet potato. She brought that in. Now she went and she got her bone. That's what she does. She collects her toys and she brings them in so she can be with us.
She only makes noise when we're doing something that
Not to interrupt your very important
noise.
thing. But it is close to her birthday celebration and I thought people would want to know.
No, she actually asked me for a beer. I told her
Corona.
she wanted a Corona beerus. Well, the White House officials, while Palestinians have been negative towards the plan, White House officials said Trump believes they will move towards it. Why? Because all the Arab nations will no longer give money to the Palestinians, and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and so on, they all support this plan. They had enough for the Palestinians. Yeah. And so did everybody else on the earth. So the plan is, here's my thing. The plan is a precursor for a bigger plan yet to come. Yes, which I announced in my January class. If you were here, you heard it.
I was here.
But I don't think this is the real plan. I think this is just
A fake plan.
page 1. Now, related story. While the plan was being released, the night before, the Sanhedrin, which is the Israeli religious court that's come back after 2,000 years, hosted a conference to discuss the role of the Arabs and Muslims in the Third Temple. Did you know they had a role in the Third Temple? The conference featured a lecture by Dr. Mordechai Kedar, a senior lecturer in the Department of Arabic at Bar Ilan University. Dr. Kedar has frequently referred to the claim that Jerusalem is holy to Muslims as fake news. Where'd you hear that before? Me. He said, Jerusalem is not mentioned in the Quran. It's not. And there is not a basis to believe that Jerusalem had any significance to Muhammad. It didn't. Dr. Kedar explained to Breaking Israel News, in early Islam, we see that assigning holiness to the Temple Mount was criticized as an attempt to introduce Jewish concepts into Islam. Jerusalem only took on any significance in Islam in the late 8th century, when the Bedouin Muslims prevented the Damascus Muslims from making a Hajj or pilgrimage to Mecca. So they were fighting amongst themselves even back then. As an alternative destination for the Hajj, the Damascus Muslims decided on Jerusalem, adding a Nora commentary, shifting the scene of Muhammad's night journey to Jerusalem in order to justify their decision. So basically, they changed the Quran to adapt to their new way of doing things. Wonderful. According to the Quran, Muhammad traveled from Saudi Arabia to Al-Aqsa, which is the far mosque. From there, he ascended to heaven, returning to earth the next day. That was a fast trip.
I guess so.
Some Muslims claim Al-Aqsa is the Silver Dome Mosque on the southern end of the Temple Mount. So they don't even know where it is. They just say, oh, it must be that place. Now, this is interesting. The creation of the world began in Mecca, but was continued in Jerusalem, a claim which is surprisingly similar to the Jewish claim that creation began at the Temple Mount. And that's because Islam is based on Judaism and manufactured by the Vatican. So duh.
You wrote about that one of your books, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember which one?
No. It's in one, I think that one.
Templated
Or maybe it's in this one.
This one's still to come. I don't think so.
It's not coming, it's there.
No, it's not for sale
It's just
yet.
not for sale, but it's here.
No, it's not.
Be
On
honest.
its way.
That's fake news what
On
you just
its
said.
way.
You just said fake news.
On its way.
For 8 years, Damascus Muslims made a Hajj to Jerusalem, during which the Dome of the Rock was constructed, and the foundation stone, that's in my book, sacred to Jews, became a sacred place to Muslims. They stole the foundation stone. This was to create religious competition for the Kaaba, the large stone in Mecca that is the holiest site in Islam. But when they were again permitted to travel to Mecca, Jerusalem was forgotten and even became a garbage dump for construction materials. So it wasn't so important to them after all. Shia Islam mercilessly persecuted the Umayyad Caliphate, did not accept the Holy Jerusalem story, which is the reason the second holiest site to Shiites is Najif in Iraq, and is the burial place of the Shiite founder Ali bin Abi Talib. Many of the Shiite elders, Iranian and Hezbollah, only began to call Jerusalem holy after the Khomeini rebellion in 1979 to keep the Sunnis from accusing them of being soft on Zionism. Is she trying to hit me?
No, this is a he. Gee.
The entire area of the Temple Mount is known as Al-Haram al-Sharif, the holy and noble site. But a change came about after the Six-Day War when some Jewish leaders began calling for the establishment of a synagogue on the Mount. It was felt that the Muslims would not object since Al-Aqsa was on the southern edge of the compound and the synagogue would be not too far away. The Muslims decided to announce that the Al-Aqsa mentioned in the Quran refers not only to the mosque on the southern end of the compound, but is the name for the entire Temple Mount area, abandoning the original name Al-Haram al-Sharif. So they just changed things to adapt to their political desires.
Well, that's like what they do today with everything.
Now here comes the important part. Muhammad Masad was a representative of the sons of Ishmael. At a Sanhedrin Hanukkah event last month, Masad led a menorah as a representative of the nation of Ishmael. Masad addressed the crowd, emphasizing that he acknowledged everything Dr. Kedar has said. Masad, a devout Muslim, stated that Islam requires universal tolerance and love. This claim was challenged by the Israeli Jews in the audience, who noted that few Muslims seemed to agree with that claim. So Masad said, "This is my Allah, and this is what he requires me to believe. This is my belief, the religion of peace, It doesn't matter that there are others who explain it differently or they want to kill me. This is my belief. Mossad also raised some unquestionable or some uncomfortable situations. He said it was not the Muslims who destroyed the temple, it was Rome. We do not have to repent for that, they do. That's coming up in the Third Temple, which I reported on. Mossad also put the responsibility for a solution firmly upon the shoulders of the Jews, and he said, I can only speak for myself, but there are many more Mohammed Mossads than you can imagine. But we are not organized and cannot express our desire to move forward. But the Jews are divided and have many different opinions, some of them quite confused and confusing. It is impossible for the Arabs to understand what the Jews want. The Jews don't understand what the Jews want, not alone the Arabs. Mossad had paid deeply for his convictions. In June, Mossad, who's a businessman originally from Jenin, which is in the West Bank, a longtime resident of Haifa, was slated to attend the US-led business conference in Bahrain. When Mossad discovered that other Palestinian businessmen at the conference were only attending in order to use the forum to shame Israel, Mossad chose not to attend. Mossad was censured by his family and many of his friends. The Palestinian Authority posted his photo on social media, endangering his life. That's very nice of Palestinians to do that to him. And he said, I am not afraid. I am doing, and he used Hebrew word, I am doing what Elohim tells me to do. Elohim, the Hebrew word for God. Muslim used it. Another Muslim came, Noha Hasid, an Egyptian Muslim nuclear scientist, has been working to bring true peace to the region. She addressed the conference, and Hasid runs the Center for Peace in the Middle East. She is a devout Muslim and believes the Arab participation in the temple is only the paradigm for peace in the Middle East. So she believes the Muslims should participate in the temple. Our initiative for peace works for Muslims, she said. I've been developing it for 20 years. It's a win-win situation, a win for the Jews and a win for the Arabs. And this is interesting. She said she separates the Arabs into 4 categories regarding peace with Israel. 1, those who are honest and unafraid and have knowledge of the Quran and admit the Jewish rights to the land of Israel. 2, those who are honest and have limited knowledge and prefer to tell the Israelis to confront the sheikhs and accept their decision. 3, the ones who know the truth but choose to hide it, deny it, or distort it. And these, she said, are most of the Arab regimes. And 4th and last group are the generation of Arabs that have been brainwashed by group 3. I think she's a brilliant woman. And she is a nuclear, did I say what she is?
Nuclear
she's a
scientist.
Nuclear scientist, so yeah, she's a very smart lady. So any aid to the Palestinian people should be channeled towards them and not given to Palestinians who sacrifice the future for the goal by continuing the conflict. So good on them. And you know who else is good on? The UK. Congratulations, United Kingdom, for leaving the evil European Union dictatorship. And I hope that you are the beginning of many to follow. Boris Johnson insisted it be full steam ahead. I like Boris Johnson.
No, you do.
I do like him very much. But I don't know if he likes me, though. After 3.5 years of turmoil, the UK's legal membership of the EU came to an end at the stroke of 11 p.m. January 31st, and you know what they held up? Q signs, Q, and British flags.
Maybe they're Star Trek fans.
And please watch the link I posted on my blog about the speech given at the EU Parliament by the British people leaving, waving their flags. Their mics were then cut off, and they were told to put their flags away. Nazi dictatorship in the EU. While Britain will be legally out of the bloc, Brussels rules will still apply for another 11 months under transition agreements. They will enter a transition period which runs till December 31. During this time, the UK will remain subject to EU laws and free movement of people will continue. The EU and UK will use the standstill period to try to hammer out the terms of the future. Well, I think the Palestinians have a better chance than the UK and the EU.
Think so?
Yeah. Mr. Johnson warned that failure to strike a trade deal by the end of the year would lead to the introduction of tariffs on goods entering from the EU, such as German cars, French cheese, and Italian wines. Well, that's just what Trump did with China and so on. So, again, congratulations to the UK, and now to all my friends in Scotland. You will be independent, and Northern Ireland will rejoin the Republic of Ireland, where it belongs. I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack on that one. Enough talking about flack. Senator Bernie Sanders, aka Gutman, who is from Vermont, has been very loud as far as socialist policies in the last 30 years in Washington. But his public service has made him and his family very wealthy, not very socialist communist Bernie. Perhaps no one has benefited more from his career than his wife, Jane. Only missing a T for Janet. Jane. When Bernie was first elected mayor of Burlington, Vermont, he appointed his then girlfriend, Jane Driscoll, also Irish like you, to head his administration's youth office. Though the position was originally unpaid, Bernie eventually put Jane on the payroll over the objections of the city council. The job was never advertised, so nobody else could apply. That's really very communistic, Bernie. A local paper noted that Sanders never bothered to provide evidence as to Jane's qualifications for the position.
I wonder how much she made.
A qualification is she'd kill him if you didn't do it. Wait, you're going to find out now. In Washington, Jane became one of her husband's top aides. On September 27, 2000, the family formed Sanders and Driscoll LLC, a for-profit consulting company run by Jane, her daughter Karina, and son David. The business operated under two trade names, Leadership Strategies and Progressive Media Strategies. And it's impossible to know how much they made because Sanders' financial disclosure forms, which he's required to release as a member of the Congress, only said more than $1,000.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, we should put that on our income tax. How much you made? More than $1,000.
Yeah, I'm sure that they would accept that.
Yeah, but apparently they accepted it from him. So Sanders doled out more than $150,000 to his wife and stepdaughter for their campaign-related work. Maybe we should work for Bernie.
Well, I think maybe you should dole that out for me.
Now, what is interesting about Sanders' family into the media is that Jane Sanders has no background in media, and her husband's 2000 campaign, she worked with two media buyers, now listen to this, named Barbara Abarbugi and Shelley Hutton-Hartig. Two names that would be significant when Bernie's political ambitions went national. When 2016 presidential campaign brought money in, know how much they gave him? $83 million.
Oh my goodness.
That doesn't sound very socialistic, communistic to me,
That's
Bernie.
a lot of money.
That's more than they have on all of Vermont. And it flowed into a mysterious limited liability company with no website, no phone number, no office space, and registered to a private home on a cul-de-sac in suburban Virginia. Gee, that's really open, Bernie. The mysterious company is called Old Town Media LLC. I like that LLC for some reason. And the two names connected to the company are, guess who? Barbara Abarbugi and Shelley Hutton-Hartig, Jane's associate from the 2006 campaign. Was Jane Sanders somehow involved in some kind of financial arrangement? Because her income has continued to be listed as more than $1,000. So, now here's the interesting part. When a highly respected Vermont reporter named Jasper Craven, working for the nonprofit VTdigger.com, asked Jane about Old Town Media during a phone interview, she replied, "I have no idea what Old Town Media is," and then she hung up the phone. In 2004, Jane was appointed head of Burlington College, a private school with fewer than 200 students. One of the board members of the college admitted that Jane's marriage to Bernie played a big role in her hiring because they thought it would help with fundraising. But it became apparent the college did not have enough money coming to pay its debt and started falling behind, and they asked Jane to leave in 2011, but she received $200,000 in severance on the way. So if they couldn't afford their bills, how come they could pay her $200,000?
I guess they wanted to get rid of her.
And then the college collapsed. So Bernie Gutman, any explanation? You are fake. and I hope that you don't get any further than you are right now.
Well, they should be investigating his finances.
Yeah. Well, apparently they have been. Now, speaking of fake, horrible people, globalist billionaire oligarch George Soros is setting up an international network for educational institutions with the aim of advancing his vision of democratic values and fighting against the rise of nationalism. Now, LifeSite News reported that the new Open Society University Network, called OSUN, will be a platform to financially aid teaching and research, which is available to all universities to join, according to Forbes report, and according to Soros' New York Open Society Foundation, OSF. And they'll be dropping $1 billion to set up this network.
Somebody would drop some millions and billions.
I take 10%
plus.
of that, really. Soros said it's the most important project of my life. That's scary. To push back against would-be or actual dictators like yourself, including the world's most influential nations. Interesting, Soros lumped the United States under President Donald Trump with Vladimir Putin's Russia and Xi Jinping's China. So he puts China, Russia. Why? Because they all hate you. Now, he wants to develop a new and innovative educational network that the world really needs.
That's scary.
Yes, according to Soros, he is a seasoned progressive globalist with a profligate booster of left-wing causes across the globe, including abortion, euthanasia, population control, same-sex marriage, transgenderism, and Antifa. Sounds like a really nice guy. I'd love to have tea with him.
Part of Antifa.
I'd show him where his tea bar is and show him how to balance it with my hands. His OSF spends $940 million annually in 100 different countries. $150 million annually to left-wing American Civil Liberties Union, leading abortion provider Planned Parenthood, and other leftist groups like Antifa. And he's a supporter of the European Union and has spent considerable money in trying to influence electoral outcomes of various European nations. So he has a nerve to say something against anyone else. How about investigating Soros?
That hasn't happened, has it?
He is guilty of global treason. I wonder what the punishment is for that. Execution isn't enough. They should dissect his body and burn it,
send him out to outer
cell by
space.
cell. I know where we can send him.
Right.
To my country. Bone-chilling new cold record set in Russia. Yakutia region, minus 56 Celsius or minus 69 Fahrenheit. And the wind chill, minus 61. See, senor. Maybe we should send the immigrants to there, because they'll see. Anyway, and also know where else is cold? Saudi Arabia.
No.
Cold snap, chilly winds, snow. It was minus 4 in some of the regions, minus 4 Celsius. Even in the capital, Riyadh, was only 2 Celsius or 36 degrees. That's cold for Saudi Arabia. Sounds like global warming to me. And guess where else it was cold? India, in the Himachal Pradesh. 300 roads were closed due to snow, 10.2 centimeters of snow, minus 1 degree Celsius. In the town of Kufri, 45 centimeters of snowfall and minus 4 degrees Celsius. And in some areas in the Chamba district, 25 centimeters of snow and 16 centimeters, minus 2. Mountainous areas are getting colder due to the upper atmosphere being colder. And guess what? Those of you who have not felt so cold this winter, the polar vortex is about to drop down from the North Pole. Now, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake hit the Caribbean this past week, getting tsunami warnings as buildings in Miami were evacuated and sewage spilled into the streets in the Cayman Islands. Well, how would you know the difference? The earthquake struck in the strait between Jamaica and Cuba. The quake caused extensive damage, but no deaths so far. Buildings in Jamaica and Cuba and Florida were evacuated. The quake was felt as far away as Miami and downtown skyscrapers evacuated, and later a 6.1 magnitude aftershock struck off the coast of the Cayman Islands, and there's been literally hundreds more. As I mentioned, Atlantis is rising.
Is that it?
Not enough for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of news.
What's not enough?
It was a lot. I have a lot.
Yeah?
I have a lot of news.
Yeah, well,
You need a
time's
cup of
up.
coffee or tea. Now's the time to go get it.
No, I don't have time, and that's not what I
I'm
want.
not giving it to you.
I want more than tea.
I'm not giving you that either.
I want
Anyway.
V.
Speaking of V, how about P?
If you want. I just did that in my
Prince
astronaut
Andrew
diaper.
and Prince Harry are kind of like out the door. So now I'm wondering if they're going to now be working on Prince Charles.
Who cares?
Because Prince Charles apparently flew 16,000 miles in just 11 days using 3 private jets and 1 helicopter before meeting Greta
Yeah,
Thunberg in Davos.
I know. You should not be driving a helicopter. Stop it, Greta.
Then he used an electric Jaguar car to travel to Davos to talk to her and get his picture taken. And then after his speech, which he urged world leaders to take bold and imaginative action on the environment, he took a 4th jet to Israel for an official trip. So
I want to go with him.
16,000 miles, 11 days, and 280,000 pounds is what they're estimating it cost the British taxpayers.
Do you think he only takes carry-on? Or
I
like
don't
he
know.
checks luggage?
But, like I said, first of all, they're trashing Prince Andrew. Now they're trashing Prince Harry. Now they're starting to trash Prince Charles. So what's going to happen over there? And Brexit, who knows?
But they're nice to Kate.
Yeah, so far. So far.
The Queen likes Kate. I shall give her my jewels.
And right now here in Michigan, actually, I don't know if it's still going on or not, but it was last week, military personnel from across the globe were in northern Michigan for something called Winter Strike, which is one-of-a-kind training. The exercise is the chance for the units to come together and do training with other services that they work with. All 5 branches of the military, believe it or not, were in Grayling, Camp Grayling.
Oh, we know where that is. It's
kind
just
of the middle of the
north
state.
of here.
Yeah, not too far. So apparently, officially, it's called Northern Strike 2, but the guys were calling it Winter Strike.
What? Because they want to practice fighting in the snow?
Yeah, and they said it was not only hard on the troops, but also on the equipment. So, I wouldn't want to be out there doing that. Yeah, true.
Did you see about that woman that was in Michigan here she was teaching about the dangers of ice fishing and then she fell in? Oh my!
It's terrible.
She fell into the ice.
She was in there for 15 minutes. I think she had frostbitten toes.
She did.
It's terrible.
Luckily, Sea Monster didn't get her.
Then I've got kind of a series of stories here that kind of one thing led to another. So the first one I'm going to start out with was about a trans woman who is a biological male who was named the bravest athlete in history by the MMA fighter's name is Fallon Fox. And apparently this magazine's called Outsports, which is a magazine dedicated to LGBT athletes. Now, they called this trans woman, Fallon Fox, the bravest athlete in history, and this person broke 2 female competitors' skulls.
What?
In fighting. And so...
Wait. So, she's really a he?
Correct.
So that's not right to do that.
That's what's going on in sports. So now, according to this article, they said it's ironic to call a man who opts to fight women instead of other men brave.
Yeah.
So a lot of weird things are going on
I think
in
whoever
this
arranged
arena.
that should be executed.
So that, like I said, one thing kind of led to another. So then this went on. This is another article I found about. Of course, Super Bowl Sunday is of the puppy's birthday.
What shall we do? Watch the Super Bowl or celebrate their birthday?
So I can celebrate their birthday, but so anyway, apparently a pro-life group that's relatively new called Faces of Choice wanted to run a pro-life ad, and then they said they've been given the runaround by Fox for 6 months. The ad, which featured the faces and stories of 14 abortion survivors, is designed to raise awareness of the survivors of abortion.
I have a question.
What?
These survivors are the fetuses or the mothers?
No, the fetuses that became babies, and they aborted them, but they lived, and I guess nobody.
I'm glad they didn't kill them.
Usually they kill them. So this was the point: is that they're people, not just a choice. So it's called Faces of Choice. It was a 30-second version of this specific ad, and Fox would not run it.
Ha.
But, believe it or not, drag queens will appear in a Super Bowl commercial
Aye.
for the very first time, apparently for Sabra hummus.
That's
Okay.
Israeli food.
Hummus is. So, anyway, there's these two drag queens. They're going to become the first drag performers to star in a commercial, Super Bowl commercial. So they wouldn't do a pro-choice, but they're doing drag queens. So apparently the ad for the hummus shows the pair who are on RuPaul's Drag Race trying on a football helmet. Now this you're going to love. The one's name is Ms. Cracker, who's 35, a New York-based queen who appeared on the 10th season of RuPaul's Drag Race in 2018.
Oh, that's an actual show.
Yeah, RuPaul's Drag Race. Her partner in the advertisement is the first South Korean American contestant on the show who made it all the way to the finale of season 8. Okay, you get ready for the name. South Korean Kimchi.
Her name is Kimchi. His name is Kimchi. That's a food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kimchi,
yeah.
which you love.
I love kimchi, but now I can't eat it ever again.
So, and now this is what's made it to the Super Bowl, but not the pro-choice. So for queer audiences, it's an art form and an outsider's language to the marketing strategist who specializes in reaching the LGBTQ audiences, and said the decision to use a drag queen who said the idea was revolutionary, and reaching the Super Bowl means taking our language into every home in the nation and millions around the world, but they won't talk about
They have
pro-choice.
their own language.
They do. They do. So
I used to think like if I became a drag queen in Japan, I'd be called Stushi.
that would be good. I think you could do that.
I think
You
I like
should
that.
maybe
Sushi.
practice that here for next podcast.
I just
We would
wrap-
probably get a million and two
I
viewers.
wrap myself in seaweed and
Yeah, well, I want to see that one. So, of course, like I said, one thing led to another. So apparently in the state of Missouri here in the U.S., there's a drag queens that are planning to protest because there's a bill that would ban drag queen story hours in the state of Missouri at taxpayer-funded libraries. House Bill 2044, the Parental Oversight of Public Libraries Act, would require that any library that receives taxpayers' dollars create a review board composed of 5 parents elected from the community, and the board would be given final authority over any explicitly or implicitly sexual material within the library.
why do libraries always have these drag
Well,
queens?
this is why I kept looking. I've got to figure out why is it that they're pushing drag queens. No matter, it turned
No,
out
but always
everything
on a
in there.
library.
This is my point. It makes no sense. So now now the drag queens are protesting this bill in Missouri, and so now there's actually a Facebook event page that was arranged by a man calling himself Chair Noble Kennedy. Chair Noble Kennedy. And he's
Cher Noble.
Chair Noble Kennedy. This apparently is going to happen March 7th, and he says it's time we stand together at the Missouri State Capitol. Even if you don't do drag, but support drag queen story time. I mean, like, who would? Come support and rally with us. So this is a big thing. We'll be heading to Jefferson City, Missouri in full drag to show senators and legislators that we aren't the monsters here.
I think you are.
All we're doing is providing a space for learning and getting kids excited about reading in a lighthearted way.
No.
You're talking about people in big poofy dresses telling stories in funny voices and trying to get kids interested in reading, which is, I think, what we all want, right?
No.
You don't want your kids listening
No,
to
I
drag
don't want
queen
anyone in a
story
big
hours?
poofy dress.
Well, I thought you were or you wanted seaweed,
I'm
right?
being seaweed.
Well, anyway, the current law on disseminating objectionable sexual material to minors is actually a felony, which is a much stricter penalty than what the bill calls for. And the Baker, who's the person who introduced it, said, I think it's perfectly appropriate to have a penalty for those who would willfully ignore the wishes of the community regarding content or events available for children to view in a public space. Baker and his family have already received death threats over his bold stand against drag queen story hour in libraries. This is the most ridiculous thing.
First of all, library's supposed to be quiet.
Well,
Not have
it doesn't
stories
make
told out loud.
sense, period. So if you're a Missouri resident, this article says, urge your representatives to co-sponsor his bill. And I agree with that. And then Sesame Street announced that it will feature Billy Porter, a homosexual actor known for his ostentatious cross-dressing in an upcoming episode. This is Sesame Street.
Why?
He's best known for his extravagant red carpet looks, typically donning ball gowns and drag queen reminiscent makeup, while not specifically dressing or identifying as a woman. He plays an MC named Pray Tell in the LGBT Pray Tell, right? Ballroom drama Pose, and he's slated to play the fairy godmother in an upcoming live-action remake of Cinderella. So now I've got him on Sesame Street.
Oh, I had the wrong career.
Apparently. And in Florida, I mean, like, this is just, like I said, one thing led to another, just crazy to me. So in Florida.
Well, Florida and crazy are the same thing.
Florida state-level lawmakers all across the country, or state-level lawmakers, it says all across the country, are beginning to introduce a variety of legislation aimed at fighting back against this LGBT takeover, and most importantly, protecting innocent children. So my question to you is this. You know, I know a lot of LGBT type of people, and none of them want this stuff. So I think they're using that but it's not, who's behind it? See, that's what I'm asking. Who's behind LGBT stuff that they're promoting? Because nobody that I know wants this or believes it's appropriate.
I don't think anyone needs to have separate rights just because of their sexual
I
preference.
agree.
Or what kind of clothes they want to wear.
But-
I mean, should I have special rights because I like chocolate or because I like...
Yes, for chocolate you should.
Yeah.
I think so. But the point is still they're pushing this on the children. So apparently in Florida, dozens of concerned volunteers worked together. They reviewed loads of what's called educational materials being used in the public system, and they declared that it's flat out pornography.
It is.
And under Florida's law, it's a felony to give children access to such materials. Yet it's happening right out in the open. So after reviewing the materials, the nonprofit Florida Citizens Alliance is asking state prosecutors to open a criminal investigation into the use of obscene pornography in public schools. I think is very
So
good.
finally Florida's doing something good.
Yes, Florida law clearly states that distribution of material containing sexually explicit content is prohibited on Florida public schools property. That makes each violation a third-degree felony. And today these Florida laws are flaunted or just ignored. And despite illegal efforts by many schools and districts to prevent parents and volunteers from accessing the explicit content, the volunteers managed to find a staggering amount of this pornography. This was documented in a major report handed to officials in Tallahassee with the letter that there can be zero doubt that these crimes are being committed in every single school district in Florida. So go Florida. The report points out that many of the school districts in Florida outright deny residents access to their library materials, which is a violation of Law HB 898. The fact that schools are hiding their library materials from the general public is concerning enough, but apparently over the 40 books reviewed, there were graphic scenes of homosexuality, transgender sexual activity, rape, sodomy, images of adult and child genitalia, and many other problematic texts in a library. And so, according to the public, it says, if any one of us walked on a public school campus to hand out these materials or tried to read these on public television, we would be charged and jailed immediately, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
A thorough investigation and Attorney General opinion is long overdue. So in this letter to the state prosecutors, on behalf of the organization's more than 60,000 active members across Florida, is that our children deserve their innocence and public schools should be directed to remove any such materials immediately.
Well, I guess they put the lie in library.
I guess so. So anyway, I was very happy to see this, and I'll be interested to see how this moves forward. So again, I'm going to
It's
say,
not on the news.
who's behind the LGBT crowd? Now, continuing to move forward, I told you about Sesame Street, and what they're doing now on Netflix. They're showing a gender-confused girl living with a drag queen, RuPaul. So this show is called AJ.
I wonder why she's confused.
AJ and the Queen, which actually features RuPaul as himself, and he's got this little girl who is, 10. However, the story is rated TV 14, which means the 10-year-old who plays the other title role with him,
can't watch the show.
She can't watch it. And I watched a little clip of this show, and the language is really horrible. It's horrible. So anyway, I'm not even going to tell you what that language is, but it's on the link. It says the show is one long exposure of a child sexualized adult situations in which she does not belong, all under the guise of the drag queen and the child bonding across country. Now, there is a drag queen called Kitty Demure who said that parents exposing their children to drag is extremely, extremely irresponsible. So that's what I'm telling you, that the real people don't want this stuff to the children. They understand what it is.
George Soros.
It says that this drag queen, Kitty Demure, says there's a lot of filth that goes on, a lot of sexual
Nancy
stuff
Pants.
that goes on backstage. There's nudity, there's sex, and there's drugs. So I don't think this is an avenue you want your child to be exposed to. And that the drag was born in an adults-only setting. It thrives in an adults-only setting. It must stay in an adults-only setting. Okay, so this was from a drag queen. Now, as I said, it gets more bizarre. Now, this to me is even the most bizarrest, if that's a word, story next. There's now a book out called Dragtivity Book for Kids, which is promoted by a therapist who's a drag queen, and he promotes it in a therapist.
Is a drag queen.
He's like a
I'm
psychoanalyst
sure he
or
puts
something.
a lot of people that
It's
way.
called the Dragtivity Book. It's 20 pages, and I don't know what the age limit is, but it's all full of coloring pages. It says it's a workbook for kids so parents and teachers can be better equipped to show kids the ropes of drag. It's 20
Why?
pages of fun educational activities such as find your own drag name. This is for little kids. Circle your pronouns, match the styling objectives. Now, I actually watched this when they teach this psychotherapist taught parents and educators how to teach this book. It's like a 15-minute thing. So he says, the drag is when you become your favorite made-up character. So this is programming. That's why they're promoting this. And they say, who's your favorite made-up character? You can be this, you can be that. And they want you to celebrate your feminine side because they like makeup and eyelashes and wigs. And I'm thinking, I'm a female and I don't want to be filled with makeup and eyelashes and wigs and all the stuff that they're claiming is female energy. It's not. I know a lot of feminists who ought to be very angry about this, or anybody who's interested in what female energy is, trying to teach your daughters and your sons and everything else in between what feminine energy is. It's not drag queen stuff. And then they go on to say you need to focus on being a diva when you're made up. That's when you feel really good, is when you're made up into your favorite character, not when you are who you are. And
It's an altar then, isn't it?
Yes, and the other interesting things that in this coloring book for kids, the eyes are either there's only one eye or they're different shapes and different sizes, and that's a sign of programming. So very interesting, but like I said, absolutely beyond bizarre. And anybody who has got any sense wants leave this stuff in the adult arena, not to your little children. So then, just in case you didn't think it'd get any more bizarre, but the drag stuff, that part's over. But I saw this, so I just throwing this one in.
What's that?
In a Sundance Film Festival, a new film sensation is about a woman who falls in love with a ride at a fairground called
A
a ride, and the ride is named Jumbo,
Uh-huh.
and it's including a sex scene
Uh-huh.
with her in this thing, and it says Jumbo explores objectophilia, which we've talked about before, which is where people have feelings for inanimate objects. So anyway, they're saying how wonderful this is, which I don't think so. And then it says the Jumbo comes to life and can communicate with the character through sounds, movement, flashing lights, which again is programming. Okay? And I have reported before about other people falling for chandeliers, laptops, Statue of Liberty.
Really? They fall in love with that?
Marrying the London Bridge and the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, we talked about that. And then it's been reviewed and everybody's saying what a wonderful movie it is. And there's a magazine called Variety, and Amy Whittock described the communication by saying it's midnight when the couple is alone. You can't be a couple with an object, I'm sorry. And Jumbo appears to communicate in grumbles and blinks.
But you know what?
What?
It's like those Disney movies where like the broom comes to life and the
Yes.
chair comes to life. So that's what this is about. It's
Yes.
astral possession of objects.
Yes, it's all kinds of things that you do not want to be involved in. So, we are going to be having new books out soon. Based on this probably won't be maybe till a couple of months away yet, but they're in process. So crazy stuff, don't participate, but be aware what's out there so you don't get involved in it. And then my public service announcement, if that wasn't enough for you, dangerous magnetic balls. So
Ooh.
These are these little tiny things, and I thought they were outlawed. I didn't have a chance to see if they were outlawed here in the U.S., but apparently that children have been admitted to the hospital after swallowing these little metal
Where
balls.
do they get them?
Well, they're a toy, and I think at one point I probably had them for our children and got rid of them.
Ah.
But they're little tiny things.
All those little beads.
Yeah, beads, and they
that
put them
they
together, and then they make shapes and sizes. Well, apparently the new craze is that kids put them together, put them in their mouth, and then they put stuff on the outside, to make it like move and things. Like, it's a piercing.
Where are their parents?
Well, and so then they accidentally swallow these balls.
Where are the parents?
And then they wind up in the hospital because once these little magnetic balls get inside of you and they hold together,
No, Jay doesn't.
they can pierce the insides of your body. And children have been admitted for all kinds of surgeries. So
They must have found another trachea candidate.
they said they're being sold as a creative toy. They want us to finish up. So it says some countries they're considered illegal. So do not buy those. And if any of your children have them or you see them, get rid of them because they're very dangerous. So get rid of them.
Jade's getting dangerous.
Yeah, so he's starting to sing happy birthday.
Yeah, he wants to start partying.
Yeah, so I want to remind you that.
Jade, come on. Yeah,
Okay, what have we got? I'm just playing. So I want to remind you that the webinars are beginning again in February.
They are.
Yep. So let's do February, March, April. Maybe I think we have a few in May. So if you haven't signed up for that, sign up for that. Remember our new series. Well, we've got a couple of them actually. Can you hold up your book? So these. Remember, if you haven't got these yet, get these because we've got so many coming out this year. We're finishing up stuff that's kind of been in process. Then we have
Yeah, come in.
King Bee,
Come on.
Template of God Mind. This one's going to be available soon for pre-order along with Heights of Spirituality, which will be similar to Heights of Health, but Heights of Spirituality. So watch for that on our website and Facebook, social media. And you are going to Turkey, right?
Well, that's the end of it.
That's eminent.
First I go to Puerto Rico.
But they can't go there.
Yeah, they can. Everybody go to Puerto Rico.
But not with you for your events.
Come on.
No, you can't. Because then you say that and the people write in
Mean to
and
them.
people write in and say, well, where are you going to be? Because we want to come see you. So, well, there's no place.
And then Ecuador, they can come to Ecuador.
Yeah.
And that's all on the website. And then Malta, anybody can come to Malta. And Turkey is on the website. Again, there's 2 weekends, April 24th to 26th and May 1 to 3.
Yes, but we have a deadline of that already.
Well, actually, now at this point, May 1 to 3 is just open.
That one's still open? Okay. So, but if you remember, this is tourist season in Turkey. The hotels are filling, so you need to sign up immediately.
Stop going.
They don't care about that. No, they don't. Come in here. So anyway, you want to sign up for your Turkey stuff immediately. Then in my Italy trip, I have 3 spaces open. In my Iceland add-on, I still have 8 open. So anyway, if you want to go somewhere with us this year, now's the year to do it because who knows what next year will bring. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Be sure and get your membership on our website, and be sure if you've got questions, they belong on the Q&A blog on the website, not on YouTube, not on Facebook. Anything else?
I think that's quite enough.
All right, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.